Commander Elaine Summers rubbed her tired eyes as she stood on the observation deck of Earth Defense Station Alpha. The massive window gave her a perfect view of Earth below, its blue oceans and white clouds a comforting sight. But today, her attention was fixed on something else entirely, a ship unlike any human vessel slowly approaching Earth's orbit. The ship was enormous, easily 5 times the size of Earth's largest battleship. Its sleek purple hull glowed with strange lights and odd symbols covered its surface. This was the first diplomatic vessel from the Galactic Empire to enter Earth's space, and Elaine did not like it one bit. "Quite a sight, isn't it, Admiral?" Gregory Martinez said as he joined her at the viewport. He was a tall man with gray hair at his temples and a perpetual frown. "They're requesting permission to send down a diplomatic team." Elaine crossed her arms. "I don't trust them, sir. Intelligence reports from our outposts near Tau Ceti suggest they've conquered 12 different species in the last century alone." No, Martinez sighed. "But the President wants to hear them out." 15 years had passed since humans had first ventured beyond their solar system. They had established colonies on nearby star systems and made contact with several alien civilizations. Most encounters had been peaceful, leading to trade and cultural exchange. But the Galactic Empire was different. The Empire was a confederation of 7 advanced alien races who had ruled the Orion arm of the galaxy for thousands of years. They claimed to spread peace and prosperity, offering protection and technology to primitive species. But behind this friendly mask was the face of a conqueror. The station's communication system beeped. "Admiral, the President is on the line," a voice announced. Martinez nodded to Elaine. "Come with me, Commander. They'll want your input." They walked briskly through the station's corridors to the command center. Officers and technicians worked at their stations, many casting nervous glances at the main screen that showed the Empire ship. In the conference room, a large holographic display showed President Susan Rivera sitting at her desk in the White House. Next to her was Captain William Harris from the Diplomatic Corps, a man known for his skill in negotiating with alien species. "Admiral, Commander," the President greeted them. "What's your assessment?" Martinez gestured to Elaine. "Commander Summers has been studying Empire movements for the past 3 years. She's our expert." Elaine stepped forward. "Madam President, I believe we should proceed with extreme caution. The Empire presents itself as benevolent, but their history shows a pattern of infiltration followed by takeover. They offer technology and protection at first, then gradually increase their military presence until the planet has no choice but to join them." Captain Harris frowned. "With all due respect, Commander, we can't just assume hostile intent. This could be a genuine diplomatic mission." "I agree we should hear them out," Elaine replied, "but under strict conditions. Limited personnel, no weapons, and constant monitoring." The President nodded slowly. "Very well, Captain Harris, you'll lead the reception committee. Commander Summers, I want you there too. Keep your eyes open for anything suspicious." "Yes, Madam President," they both replied. The transmission ended and Elaine immediately began preparing for the meeting. She reviewed all available data on Empire protocols and diplomacy, determined not to be caught by surprise. 3 hours later, a small shuttle departed from the Empire ship and headed toward Earth. It landed at the designated area in the International Spaceport outside New Geneva, where Captain Harris waited with a small reception team. Elaine stood slightly behind them, dressed in her formal uniform. Her hand rested near her sidearm, a precaution that Harris had frowned upon but had not forbidden. The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss. A ramp extended to the ground and 5 figures emerged. The leader was tall and thin with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Large black eyes dominated its face, and it wore ornate robes decorated with strange symbols. "Greetings, people of Earth," it said in perfect English. "I am High Emissary Zix Terra of the Galactic Empire. We come in peace and friendship." Captain Harris stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, High Emissary. I am Captain William Harris, and this is Commander Elaine Summers. We are honored by your visit." The emissary bowed slightly. "The honor is ours. We have watched your species with great interest. Your rapid advancement from planetary civilization to interstellar travel in such a short time is most impressive. The Diplomatic party was escorted to a conference room in the spaceport's secure area. As they walked, Elaine noticed one of the aliens discreetly scanning the facility with a small device. She made a mental note to report this later. In the conference room, High Emissary Zix Terra presented an offer that sounded too good to be true. Advanced medical technology that could cure most human diseases. Faster-than-light drive systems that would make Earth's current ships look primitive. Defense systems that could protect against any threat. All this we offer freely, the emissary said. We ask only for a mutual defense pact and permission to establish a small base on your moon, to help coordinate our efforts. While Captain Harris seemed impressed, Elaine remained skeptical. And how many other species have you made this offer to, High Emissary? She asked. Zix's Terra's black eyes blinked slowly. Many have benefited from Imperial protection, Commander. All live in peace and prosperity under our guidance. Under your rule, you mean, Elaine said quietly. The meeting concluded with Captain Harris promising to relay the offer to Earth's leadership. As the aliens returned to their shuttle, Elaine slipped away and headed to the security office. Lieutenant E. Diana Powell, head of Earth's Intelligence Division, was waiting for her. Diana was a sharp-minded woman with short brown hair and keen eyes that missed nothing. Did you get anything? Elaine asked. Diana nodded and brought up a holographic display. We intercepted some encrypted communications between their shuttle and the main ship. It took some work, but we cracked part of the code. The display showed alien text with a partial translation. Elaine read it and felt her stomach tighten. Defensive capabilities, primitive, full assessment, fleet positioning. She looked up at Diana. They're not here for diplomacy. They're assessing our defenses for a full-scale invasion. That's my reading too, Diana agreed. And there's more. We've detected unusual movement at the edge of our solar system. Long-range scans show multiple ships approaching, far more than the one they told us about. Elaine's mind raced. We need to inform the President immediately. Within 2 hours, Elaine stood in the Oval Office alongside Admiral Martinez and Lieutenant Powell. President Rivera listened gravely as they presented their evidence. How long do we have? She asked. Based on their current positioning, Martinez replied, I'd say they're preparing for action within days, not weeks. The President stood and walked to the window looking out at the clear blue sky. So much for peaceful first contact with a galactic civilization. She turned back to face them. What are our options? We're outnumbered and outgunned, Elaine admitted. But we're not helpless. Earth's fleet is small but advanced. Our colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan have their own defense forces. And we've been developing new technologies that the Empire doesn't know about. And we have something else, Diana added. The element of surprise. They think we're buying their act. They don't expect resistance. President Rivera nodded slowly. Very well. I'm calling an emergency session of the United Earth Council. Commander Summers, prepare a full briefing on the Empire's capabilities and likely tactics. As Elaine left the White House, she looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the Empire ship waited, its crew confident in their coming victory. They thought Earth would be an easy conquest, another primitive world to add to their collection. They were about to learn how wrong they were. General Frank Baldwin paced in front of the large display screen. His normally calm face showed worry as he addressed the emergency session of the United Earth Council. The room was packed with representatives from every nation and colony in the human sphere. The Empire has over 300 warships assembling beyond Neptune's orbit, he said, pointing to red dots on the map. Our fleet numbers less than 50. The council chamber erupted in worried voices. Some members stood up, shouting questions and demands. President Susan Rivera, seated at the center of the horseshoe-shaped table, raised her hand. The room gradually fell silent. What are our options, General? She asked. General Baldwin took a deep breath. We can't match them ship for ship, but we might not need to. Commander Elaine Summers stepped forward. She had spent the last 24 hours analyzing data from Earth's outer system sensors. The Empire thinks we're unaware of their true intentions. That gives us an advantage. She tapped a control. and the display changed to show detailed scans of Empire ships. Their vessels are advanced but not invincible. We've identified potential weaknesses in their shield configurations and propulsion systems. Dr. Alan Curtis, a thin man with wild gray hair who led Earth's defense initiative, raised his hand. We've been developing a planetary shield network. It's not fully tested, but it could buy us time. How long would it take to deploy? President Rivera asked. 3 days for basic coverage of Earth and the Moon, Dr. Curtis replied. A week for full protection of the inner system. Major John Blackwell, Elaine's second-in-command, spoke up. His voice was deep and confident. We don't need to match their numbers. We need to make entering our space too costly for them to consider it. Worthwhile, President Rivera nodded slowly. Explain. The Empire has conquered many worlds, but always at minimal cost to themselves, Blackwell said. They're not used to real resistance. If we can inflict enough damage in the initial engagement, they might reconsider. Elaine agreed. Major Blackwell is right. The Empire values efficiency. They won't waste resources on a difficult conquest when easier targets exist. The Council debated for hours. Some members argued for immediate surrender to avoid bloodshed. Others wanted to launch a preemptive strike against the Empire fleet. In the end, President Rivera made the final decision. We will not surrender, she declared firmly. Nor will we strike first. We will defend our territory with everything we have. She turned to Dr. Curtis. Begin deploying the shield network immediately. I'm authorizing emergency powers for your team. To General Baldwin and Commander Summers, she said, prepare our fleet and coordinate with the colony defense forces. I want our ships positioned for maximum effect. As the meeting ended, Elaine received an urgent message. Ambassador Laura Nichols, Earth's representative to the Empire's capital world, had sent a final transmission before her emergency departure. Elaine played it on her personal device. The ambassador's face appeared, looking tired but determined. Commander, I'm leaving the Empire capital on the last transport. Things are deteriorating quickly here. The Empire sees us as primitive, underestimating our resolve. This will be their mistake. The message ended, and Elaine hurried to the command center. The next 48 hours would be critical. Earth's colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan mobilized their defense forces. The outer colonies around Alpha Centauri and Tau Ceti prepared for the worst. Engineers worked around the clock to deploy the shield network, while military vessels moved into defensive positions. Commander Elaine Summers hardly slept. She worked with Major Blackwell and a team of tactical officers to develop a response plan. They called it Operation Firewall. The key is to focus on their command ships, she explained, pointing to the largest vessels on the tactical display. Their fleet operates on a strict hierarchy. Disable the leaders and the rest will be confused, at least temporarily. Blackwell nodded. We've analyzed their communication patterns. They rely heavily on central coordination. If we can disrupt that, we gain a significant advantage. 2 days later, President Rivera addressed the world from the United Nations headquarters in New York. Her speech was broadcast to every corner of human space. Citizens of Earth and her colonies, she began, her voice steady and strong. We face a threat unlike any in our history. The Galactic Empire, despite its promises of peace and friendship, plans to conquer us and add our worlds to their domain. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Today we draw a line in the sand. Earth will not bow to tyranny, no matter how powerful the tyrant. The president's words echoed across human space, bringing both fear and determination. The declaration was broadcast across all channels and translated into the Empire's language. No Galactic Empire ships would be permitted in Earth's territory. The Empire's response was immediate. High Commander Zhirvash, the military leader of the Empire fleet, issued an ultimatum from his massive flagship. People of Earth, the alien commander said, his 4 arms crossed in front of his chest. Your resistance is pointless and will only lead to unnecessary suffering. Surrender your worlds to the benevolent guidance of the Empire within 48 hours, or face the consequences. In the Earth Defense Command Center, Elaine watched the message with a grim expression. Now we know who "We're dealing with," she said to Major Blackwell, "and he's just as arrogant as we hoped." Blackwell nodded. "That arrogance is our best chance." Chief Engineer Olivia Patel entered the command center. She was short and energetic, with hands that never seemed to stop moving. "Commander, we've made progress on the shield network. We've increased efficiency by 27%, but it won't hold forever against their firepower." "How long?" Elaine asked. "Against their full fleet? Maybe 6 hours. But that's 6 hours we didn't have before." Elaine nodded. "Good work. Keep pushing." The countdown to the Empire's deadline ticked away as humanity prepared for war. Ships moved. Into position. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Civilians on Earth and the inner colonies moved to underground shelters. Unknown to the Empire, Earth wasn't fighting alone. Admiral Kevin Russell had secretly negotiated with other independent worlds who had suffered under Empire aggression. A coalition was forming in the shadows, preparing to join the fight at the critical moment. 24 hours before the deadline, Elaine presented the final version of Operation Firewall to President Rivera and the Joint Chiefs. "Our strategy is three-pronged," she explained. "Defend, deceive, and disrupt." She pointed to the holographic display showing Earth and its defensive positions. "The shield will protect our core worlds as long as possible. Our electronic warfare systems will jam their communications and targeting systems. And our strike forces will target their command ships." General Baldwin looked skeptical. "It's a bold plan, Commander, but the odds are still heavily against us." "Yes, sir," Elaine acknowledged. "But bold is all we have." Lieutenant Paul Garcia, a young officer from the research division, spoke up. "We have one more card to play." He activated a display showing a small device. "We've developed nanite disruptors that can disable Empire technology without destroying their ships." He explained further. "We don't need to kill them all. We just need to show them we're not worth the cost." As the final hours of the ultimatum approached, Elaine stood in the observation deck of Defense Station Alpha, looking out at Earth below. The blue planet seemed peaceful from here, unaware of the storm about to break. Major Blackwell joined her. "The fleet is in position, all systems are go." Elaine nodded. "Has there been any response to our final message?" "No," Blackwell replied. "High Commander Shurvash refuses to acknowledge it." Their final message had been simple. Earth and her colonies are not for conquest. The cost of taking them would be too high. "Then we're ready," Elaine said, her voice firm with resolve. "When they cross Neptune's orbit, they'll find out exactly what humans are capable of." The deadline passed. The Empire launched their attack. The first wave of ships moved toward Earth's solar system, confident in their superior numbers and technology. They were about to receive the surprise of their lives. The first wave of Empire ships crossed Neptune's orbit and immediately encountered Earth's first surprise. Hidden among the outer planets, humans had deployed a minefield of quantum disruptors, devices that interfered with faster-than-light drives. Several Empire ships suddenly dropped to normal speed, their engines flickering and dying. In the Earth Defense Command Center, Commander Elaine Summers watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "First trap sprung," she said. 15. Enemy vessels disabled. Major John Blackwell nodded. "The rest are slowing down, they're confused." On the main screen, they could see Empire ships changing formation, moving cautiously now. The arrogance of their approach was gone, replaced by uncertainty. "They didn't expect resistance this far out," Elaine noted. "Now for Phase 2. She gave the order, and Earth's hidden defense platforms around Uranus and Saturn activated. Missiles streaked across space, targeting the lead Empire vessels. The platforms weren't designed to destroy the massive ships, only to damage and distract them. High Commander Shurvash, aboard his flagship the Imperial Fist, received reports of the unexpected resistance. His forearms gestured angrily as he barked orders to his officers. "These primitives dare to challenge us? Push forward, destroy those platforms." The Empire fleet regrouped and continued their advance, but more slowly now. They had lost the element of surprise and were paying more attention to their surroundings. Back on Earth, Chief Engineer Olivia Patel was making final adjustments to the planetary shield network. Her team worked frantically, knowing that the shield was Earth's last line of defense. Power level stable, one technician reported. Coverage at 98% and holding. Olivia wiped sweat from her forehead. Let's hope it's enough. In orbit around Mars, Lieutenant Paul Garcia supervised the loading of nanite disruptors onto Earth's defensive fleet. The devices were small but powerful, designed to infiltrate Empire technology and disable it from within. Handle them carefully, he instructed the loading crew. Each one is programmed to target specific systems. As the Empire fleet approached the asteroid belt, they encountered Earth's second line of defense. Hidden among the rocks were stealth fighters, small, fast ships designed for hit-and-run attacks. They darted from behind asteroids, fired quick bursts at the Empire ships, then disappeared again. On the Imperial Fist, High Commander Shurvash slammed his fist on the command console. They are like insects, swat them down, but the stealth fighters were difficult to target, and they were causing damage and confusion. Empire ships fired massive energy weapons into the asteroid field, destroying rocks and occasionally hitting a fighter, but most of the small craft escaped. The battle continued for hours as the Empire slowly pushed through the asteroid belt toward the inner planets. They had lost more ships than expected, but still had overwhelming numbers. At Earth Defense Command, President Susan Rivera joined Elaine and the other officers. How are we holding up? Better than expected, Elaine replied. We've slowed them down and caused some damage, but the real test is still coming. The president nodded gravely. The shield is our best hope. How long will it hold? 6 hours against their full fleet, Elaine said. Maybe longer if our outer defenses continue to thin their numbers. As they spoke, the first Empire ships reached Mars orbit. The Red Planet's defenses opened fire, and a fierce battle began. Earth ships engaged the enemy, focusing on specific targets according to Operation Firewall. Vice Admiral Hannah Mitchell coordinated Earth's counterattack from her flagship, the EDS Defiant. She was calm and focused as she issued orders to the fleet. Target enemy command vessels. Groups Alpha and Bravo deploy nanite disruptors. Groups Charlie and Delta provide covering fire. Earth ships moved in precise formation, executing complex maneuvers that confused the Empire's targeting systems. They were outnumbered, but they were fighting smarter. The nanite disruptors proved effective. When deployed against an Empire ship, they attached to the hull and released microscopic robots that infiltrated the ship's systems. Engines failed, weapons went offline, and communications were disrupted. Lieutenant Garcia monitored the nanites' progress from a control room on Phobos, one of Mars's moons. They're working. 3 Empire heavy cruisers disabled and counting. The Empire responded with brutal force. Their remaining ships concentrated fire on Earth's fleet, destroying several vessels. But each destroyed Earth ship sold itself dearly, taking down Empire ships in the process. On the Imperial Fist, High Commander Zhurvash received more bad news. Commander, we're detecting new ships entering the system. They don't match known Earth configurations. Zhurvash studied the display with his large black eyes. Identify them. Sir, they appear to be from the Proxima Rebellion and the free worlds of Tau Ceti. Zhurvash hissed in anger. Earth wasn't fighting alone. Admiral Kevin Russell's secret negotiations had paid off. A coalition fleet emerged from hyperspace behind the Empire forces, catching them in a deadly crossfire. The coalition ships were diverse. Each species had its own design philosophy, but they all shared one thing: hatred of the Empire. They attacked with coordinated fury, focusing on the Empire's rear flank where defenses were weakest. At Earth Defense Command, Admiral Russell reported in. Coalition forces engaged. We've caught them by surprise. President Rivera smiled for the first time in days. Well done, Admiral. As the battle for Mars orbit raged, the remaining Empire ships pushed toward Earth. The blue planet waited, its shield network ready. When the first Empire vessels came within range, they opened fire with massive energy weapons. The shield flared bright blue as it absorbed the impact. Chief Engineer Olivia Patel watched the power readings anxiously. Shield, holding at 92% capacity, adjusting power distribution to compensate for stress points. The Empire ships continued their bombardment, pouring fire into Earth's shields. Hour after hour, the attack continued. The shield weakened but held. Meanwhile, the tide of battle around Mars began to turn. Earth and coalition forces pressed their advantage, disabling more Empire ships with nanite disruptors and conventional weapons. Vice Admiral Mitchell ordered a bold move. All ships focus fire on the enemy flagship. Carrier group launch all fighters. Earth's remaining fleet converged on the Imperial Fist. Fighters swarmed around the massive vessel, drawing fire from its point defenses while larger ships moved in to deploy nanite disruptors. On the Imperial Fist, systems began to fail. Lights flickered, weapons went offline, and communications became garbled. High Commander Zervash raged at his crew, demanding they fix the problems, but the nanites had infiltrated too deeply. "Sir," an officer reported, "we've lost control of engines and weapons. Life support is failing on decks 3 through 7. Zervash stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The supposedly primitive humans and their allies were winning. His grand fleet was in disarray, caught between Earth's ingenious defenses and the Coalition's surprise attack. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was being pushed back. At Earth Defense Command, Elaine and the other officers watched as the battle shifted in their favor. The Empire fleet had lost cohesion, with ships fighting individually rather than as a coordinated force. "They're breaking formation," Major Blackwell reported. "Some ships are retreating." Elaine nodded with grim satisfaction. "Their command structure is failing. Without clear orders, their captains are making individual decisions." President Rivera asked the question everyone was thinking. "Have we won?" Elaine shook her head. "Not yet. They still have numbers on their side, and the battle could turn again. But we've shown them something important." "What's that?" the president asked. "That Earth is not an easy conquest," Elaine replied. "That the cost of taking us will be too high." As if to prove her point, the shield around Earth flared again as more Empire ships joined the bombardment. The battle was far from over, but humanity had proven its worth as an opponent. The Empire had expected an easy victory. Instead, they had found a fight that would change the course of galactic history. 3 weeks into what became known as the Sol Defense War, the Empire had lost over a third of its fleet. Earth's coalition forces, though suffering heavy casualties, continued to hold their ground. The nanite disruptors had proven remarkably effective, leaving Empire crews stranded in disabled vessels. Commander Elaine Summers looked at the tactical display in Earth Defense Command with tired eyes. She hadn't slept properly in days, catching only short naps between Empire attacks. "Status report," she requested, sipping a cup of strong coffee. Major John Blackwell, looking equally exhausted, pointed to the display. "The Empire fleet has pulled back to Jupiter's orbit. They're regrouping, but they've stopped their advance toward Earth." Elaine nodded. "And our forces?" "We've lost 27 ships," Blackwell said grimly. "The Mars orbital platforms are at 40% capacity, but the shield is holding, and the Coalition fleet has suffered fewer losses than expected." On Earth, citizens huddled in underground shelters watched news broadcasts of the battle. Despite government efforts to remain positive, everyone knew the situation was serious. Earth had bloodied the Empire's nose, but the enemy still had significant advantages in numbers and firepower. In a field hospital beneath New Geneva, Dr. Amanda Wright led the medical response team. The facility was filled with wounded soldiers and civilians, victims of Empire attacks that had penetrated Earth's defenses in a few locations. "We need more synthetic blood," she called to a nurse, "and prep the Regan unit for the next patient." Dr. Wright didn't discriminate between patients. In one corner of the hospital, several captured Empire crew members received the same care as human soldiers. This compassion, even in war, was something the aliens found confusing. "Why do you help us?" one four-armed Empire officer asked as Dr. Wright treated his burns. "We are your enemies." Because that's what humans do, she replied simply. We fight when we must, but we don't abandon those in need, even enemies. This encounter was repeated across human territory, as disabled Empire ships were boarded and their crews taken prisoner. The Empire expected execution or torture. Instead, they found themselves treated according to Earth's laws of war. Meanwhile, Captain Samuel Lee prepared for a daring mission. He commanded a stealth vessel called the EDS Phantom, specially designed for infiltration. His target, the Imperial Fist flagship of High Commander Zhurvash. The plan is simple but dangerous, he told his crew in the briefing room. The Imperial Fist has been damaged by nanite disruptors. Its detection systems are compromised. We slip aboard, capture the High Commander, and get out. A young officer raised her hand. Sir, if I may ask, why risk our lives to capture him? Why not just destroy the flagship? Captain Lee nodded at the valid question. Because dead enemies can only teach us one lesson. Live ones can teach us many. And President Rivera believes there may be a diplomatic solution. The mission launched during a lull in the fighting. The Phantom approached the Imperial Fist, using the debris field from the battle as cover. With exceptional skill, Captain Lee guided his ship to a damaged docking port on the Empire flagship. Boarding team ready, his first officer reported. Execute, Lee ordered. The boarding team, led by Lee himself, entered the Imperial Fist through the damaged port. They moved quickly through darkened corridors, encountering only minimal resistance. The nanite disruptors had done their work well, disabling internal security systems and communications. They reached the command center after a brief firefight with the High Commander's personal guards. High Commander Zhurvash, his blue skin now pale with stress, stood defiant as humans entered his sanctum. I will not surrender, he declared, reaching for a weapon. Captain Lee fired first, a stun round that dropped the alien leader to the deck. You don't have a choice, he said, though the unconscious commander couldn't hear him. The team retreated with their prize, fighting their way back to the Phantom. They undocked just as Empire forces realized what had happened and launched pursuit. Vessels. But the Phantom vanished into the debris field, its stealth systems making it nearly impossible to track. When Captain Lee returned to Earth with High Commander Zhurvash, the news spread quickly through human space. President Susan Rivera chose to meet with the captured leader personally at a secure facility. High Commander. She greeted him formally as she entered the room where he was being held. I am President Susan Rivera of the United Earth Council. Zhurvash glared at her with his large black eyes. You have violated all rules of warfare by capturing me. The Empire will never stop until your worlds are ash. President Rivera sat across from him, unintimidated. Actually, we followed our rules of warfare perfectly. And as for turning our worlds to ash, you've tried that for 3 weeks with limited success. She leaned forward. We don't want your empire. We want our freedom, and the freedom of all sentient beings to choose their own path. That is non-negotiable. The President's words were broadcast across human space and through captured communications channels to the Empire fleet as well. She offered terms. The Empire would recognize Earth and its allies as sovereign territories, and in return, Earth would release all prisoners, including the High Commander. On the Imperial Fist, now under the command of Sub-Commander Zek Lor, the Empire officers watched the broadcast with mixed emotions. Their standing orders were clear: conquer Earth at all costs. But the costs had already far exceeded expectations. The Empire's Council of Seven, the ultimate ruling body, convened an emergency session on their throne world light years away. Reports from the Sol system painted a troubling picture. The supposedly primitive humans had not only resisted effectively but had managed to capture the High Commander himself. The loss rate is unprecedented, one council member noted. We have already lost more ships taking this one system than in our last 5 conquests combined. Another added, and now they offer terms that allow us to save face. Perhaps we should consider them. Faced with mounting losses and a coalition that grew stronger each day, the Empire's Council of Seven was forced to reconsider their expansion policy. The cost of subduing Earth and its allies had become prohibitively high. After 2 days of tense negotiation, the Empire agreed to terms. The peace treaty, signed aboard a neutral station orbiting Jupiter, recognized Earth and its allies as sovereign territories. The declaration that had started as defiance, no galactic empire ships allowed, became interstellar law. Earth established a defensive perimeter and monitoring network to ensure compliance. Empire ships would need special permission to enter Earth-controlled space, and any violations would be met with immediate force. As the Empire fleet retreated from the solar system, Commander Elaine Summers watched from the observation deck of Earth Defense Station Alpha. Major Blackwell joined her, a rare smile on his face. "We did it," he said simply. Elaine nodded. "At a high cost, but worth it." In the following months, Earth led the formation of the Alliance of Free Worlds. The coalition that had fought together now worked to create a new balance of power in the galaxy. The Empire, though still vast and powerful, had learned a crucial lesson. Not all species could be conquered, and some, like humans, were simply not worth the trouble of trying. Professor Daniel Edwards, a historian at the United Earth Academy, later wrote, "The Sol Defense War marked humanity's emergence as a galactic power. Not through conquest, but through courage, innovation, and the fundamental belief that freedom is worth fighting for." 5 years after the war, Commander Elaine Summers, now Admiral and Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, stood on the observation deck of a new station at the edge of Earth's solar system. This was Frontier Station 1, built to monitor the border and serve as a diplomatic meeting point. She watched as an Empire diplomatic vessel approached, following the strict protocols established by the treaty. The ship stopped at the designated position and waited for permission to proceed. Elaine smiled as she gave the order. "Permission granted. Escort them in." The declaration remained. Earth's space was for Earth and its allies. Any Empire ship entering, without permission, would be reminded, forcefully if necessary, that some lines should not be crossed. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not by conquest, but by standing firm against those who would conquer them. And in doing so, they had changed the course of galactic history forever.